So welcome everyone to the Roy Lam live lesson series I want to start doing for the next few weeks here. I've been wanting to do this for a while, just haven't gotten around to it. This will be a fun lesson series. Most of Lanham stuff is pretty straightforward when it comes to the chord shapes and different chords he uses. It's just the way he puts them together and kind of getting that vocabulary into your playing. So I thought we'd kick it off by just looking at a blues. On one of his instrumental albums, he has a tune called Roy's Blues, and just a straight ahead jazz blues with the 1-6-2-5-1 turnaround. And he kicks off it with like some single note stuff, but then he goes into a chord solo, and there's just a lot of really good classic lines in there that I wanted to start talking about. So we'll start off this week just with the first chorus. I might say, if you want the whole transcription of it, there's a link in the title to my website. I've got a full transcription of that tune, all the single note and chord stuff, as well as two other tunes, and it comes in the pack. It's $15, easy PayPal, and you get it right in your email. So check that out if you want to follow along via tab. If not, we'll just go for it. So we're going to be in the key of A, just a normal blues. I'm going to play the first little part for you here, and we'll talk about it. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the first little bit of it. We're starting off on this cool A6 chord, and it's a nice stretchy voicing of it. It's an A, an F sharp, and an E. So we're just going, and Roy, I might add, he would play with his 4 fingers. And I don't think he uses pinky too much, but he didn't play with the pick when he's doing this stuff. I play with the pick and use my pinky. So he's just gripping it and then chopping it up like that. So now that would be over the A. Then we have that quick 4, and he's playing, well, first he's playing this thing, and I'll show you that in a second. It's just like a B minor. You could think of like a B minor chord. He's playing this F sharp, B, and D, or you could think of it just as it's based off a D chord, right? Just some more color to it. And then he's playing a D diminished, which just gets us back to 1. So we've got A, D, D sharp, and then back to 1. So you can hear guys play it like a B minor, like that, and then the sharp 4, the diminished. Or you could hear guys play it like that. And what this is, just think of like maybe a G7 chord if you wanted to. You could even throw in that A in there and go like this. This is a really cool move. Go G, then move everything up but the first string, diminished, and then you're back to A. So you've got this kind of G7, D sharp diminished, A. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what this is setting up the 4 chord that's coming. We've got this chord right here. It's a G, a D, and an A. It's like a A7 suspended chord. You could think of it as, if this is like your A chord, kind of out of the G cowboy chord shape, we're basing it off there in there. So we've got suspended, and then we drop this down to a C sharp. So it's just the suspended A7. So that sets up going to the 4. Listen to that resolution. All right. So we just went. And that sets up this D chord we're about to go up to. So for those of you just joining, we're talking about a blues using some of these Roy Lanham styled stuff here. So we've got over the A, D, D sharp, and then the suspended sound. And then we've gone up to this chord right here. So again, it's just this D7 chord, or half diminished chord I should probably say. Just moved up a minor third. These move in minor thirds. So he is harmonizing the D with that chord. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So what's happening is take your favorite blues lick and harmonize it with a diminished chord. And back to A. So we've got So that's kind of a cool little trick you can take in, outside of that lick. Take any kind of blues lick you got on these like first strings and put the diminished chord behind it, and you have a nice harmony to it. So that leads us back to the A chord. So next comes a 1-6, and then we'll get to the 2-5. So after he goes 1, 2, 3, he goes. So we're now going to start working out of this shape right here. Take your A triad and then add the F sharp to it, and you get a 6 chord. This is like kind of a common steel guitar voicing, like that. So we're sliding up and we're going. Just chopping it up once again. And then walking down. And we're targeting this C sharp. This is the 3, right? 3 of A. Or it could be played over the A if you want to have that sound. So. And then. So we're just playing out of this shape, the C sharp minor, going like that, moving off the 7th, that's on the 12th fret, and then moving it down a half step to a C minor. And what the big bird's eye picture of this is he's going to set up a 3, sub, 2, 5, 1. So we're just kind of moving chromatically down to get us back. So we've got this A, that's the 3 and kind of a sub for the 6. Here comes the 2 and the 5. So what's happening here is if our 5 chord is right here, it's the E, we're thinking we could sub that for a 2 minor, the B. Right? And the reason why, if we look at it, it has pretty much all the same notes plus some color notes. We've got the B and the D. The F sharp is a color note. That's the 9 of E. And then we've got the B on top. So he plays chromatically up. So from a half step, we've got B flat minor, B minor, then moving up to C sharp minor, then D. So it's cool. It's just kind of like a going up the scale. And then that leads us right into this E up here. If you want just a normal E, it would be like so. So we've got all the way up. So that's 2 minor, 5, and he does an E13 here. We've got D, G sharp, and C sharp. And he picks it apart and goes. So play the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string, and then the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going again with that kind of sus sound we talked about over the A, but this time it's over the E. we've got D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, G sharp. And that's all over that E chord. So it's a really nice when you got that's what's happening in the single notes. It's a really cool resolution. And then you just resolve into that A triad there. And for the turnaround, he goes D, D6, A. So just take a normal D triad, add the 6 with your pinky, that's the B, and back to A. So that whole kind of 2-5 turnaround sounds like this. A 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's what's going on there. So what I kind of did when I first learned this was take all of these chords and find some different voicings for them and different parts of the guitar, just so I'd have more at my disposal. So for instance, we went over that kind of first one. Instead of playing at the start where we went 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of playing the B minor, I typically play that G, D sharp, A. So that's the first one you could kind of steal and use instead of the B minor. And then I would try and find that on another place. So I would maybe go A, and then D, D sharp diminished, and A again. That could be another good one to use. I find that I'll use that one quite a bit in my playing. So A, or, right? So that's a good one. The next kind of part of the song, we do the suspended stuff. Now, I like that, but I typically play those chords more so with the B in there. That. So instead of playing the suspended right there, to get a fuller sound, I like playing it right here. So G, D, F sharp, A. You're thinking of your A chord right here, but we're just adding the 4th, the 13. Then you take the D off and you've got just an A7 13. So and that falls right into a D. So that could be a cool little line if you're kicking off your tune or having just like a 1 to a 4 change. You could go something like that. So I typically will use those because I just think they sound a little bit full or more full. The next part we had was harmonizing a blues lick there. So take that idea and you can even put it on, excuse me, the second string. The way to do that is just build the fourths or diminished chords off of so. So if you had it right here and you wanted to play maybe like starting to get limited with the frets there, but you just build your diminished chord, F sharp, C, E, A, or if you want fully diminished, you can do it like that. And you've got that, if you want. So it just depends on where you are on the guitar and what strings and notes you got available for you. Instead of having to go, you could just and get that without having to move your hands so much. So that's one I would kind of work on. The next thing we went to was the 1-6-2-5, where we went. Now I would just mess around a lot with this and play around with these minor chords, because that's what he's ultimately playing with. So you could come up and go, you've got a whole lot of stuff there, right? So C sharp, you've got all of these notes at your disposal. So you can create a little melody there, and then bring it down a half step, bring it down a half step, and you're at your 2, and then you could walk up the scale. So you might do something, if you're coming out of the 4 chord to the 1 and the 6, you might go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the 2, and the 5, 1, 4, sharp 4, 1. So something like that is when I would use back to A. So there's another, and then the last one I would talk about is that just working up the scale and getting back down. So take your 2 minor, 5, 1, and just practice going all the way up with it. Or you could go down. All sorts of options there. And just don't limit yourself to just this. Move it maybe to this position. So B minor, C, D, E, A. B minor, C, D, E, A. Or sorry, P minor, C sharp, D, E, A. So experiment with all of that and use all of that, because that's the gist, or a lot of what he's working out of, these really common shapes, but adding those extensions to them and just moving around and finding the easiest ways to play them. So if you dig that, definitely check out those transcriptions, because there's all sorts of stuff jam-packed in there. As always, if anyone has any questions here and you're watching, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer those. What else from this that I've stolen? The intro thing again, that whole 1, 2, 3, 4. Stuff like that. You could take the intro and you could actually highlight your first 2 chords with it. You could go A with the flat 5, D with a flat 9, right? Or D sharp. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4. All sorts of stuff like that. So experiment with all of it. Try just moving things around in little half steps, and you'll find that there's a lot of this stuff that can easily be manipulated from one chord to the other. So hope everyone enjoyed that. Once again, check out those transcriptions, as well as put a playlist together of some of my favorite stuff that he has recorded on those instrumental albums. I'll put it in the comments section here, and then we'll have fun with this for the next few weeks. Hope you learned a lot and enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Thank you.